Hi, this is Alan Schimmel, DevOps.com here at DevOps Enterprise Summit. And I'm here with Mike McGarr of Netflix,
Yeah.
who literally just walked off the stage,
Yeah.
where he presented sort of the hidden life of Netflix people and some
Yeah.
things you may not have heard.
Yeah, that sounds very dramatic, but yeah.
Well,
yeah,
we try to be dramatic here, Mike. So, Mike, probably no one was listening in on the stage, but the whole world is here.
Yeah.
Why don't you share some of what you spoke about?
Sure, yeah, so I wanted to present, essentially, I've been at Netflix for about a year and a half. I wanted to present on the things that people may not have known about. So a lot of people have read the Netflix culture deck and are aware of, the everything we have in our culture deck as far as freedom and responsibility, context, not control. And so I wanted to provide some insight on how that might look and how that might work day to day, and then provide enterprise and companies an opportunity to ask questions back to their organization. So I could see how this freedom responsibility works at Netflix. How can I apply that and look for opportunities to move the needle in my company towards a culture like Netflix's, without trying to achieve being like Netflix, which I think is you shouldn't do.
Exactly, and I think that's something we've heard from horses, if you will, in
Sure.
the past, is not everyone wants to be Netflix,
Right.
but there are lessons learned from Netflix that they want to take out. So Mike, can you give us maybe some examples
Sure.
of things you cited?
Yeah, so I talked a lot about what it really means for freedom responsibility. So it essentially means people forget that freedom and responsibility go hand in hand. So those with the responsibility should also have the freedom to choose kind of the architecture of the system. If I'm on PagerDuty for something or I'm responsible for a system, then I should have some freedom there. I talked a lot about how we manage context via context, not control, and how we try not to micromanage individuals on our team. We focus very much on giving them the right business context and trusting that they'll do the right thing. I talked about how we communicate as an organization, a lot of emphasis on one-on-ones and protecting engineers' time. And then I talked a little bit about waste and how waste is something that we generally in the lean and DevOps community will weed out, and rightfully so. But there's a different type of waste which really is the byproduct of innovation. And so talking about how tolerant your organization can be to this type of waste can be an indicator of how tolerant they are, interested they are in innovation. So.
Excellent stuff. And Mike, overall, how would you think the audience responded?
It was good. It seemed to be a packed room, so it was right after lunch, so my job was to keep everyone awake.
From sleeping?
Yeah.
Well, people, the DevOps conference, people tend to aggregate towards Netflix. You guys are a unicorn, as you said.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is, here at DevOps Enterprise Summit, we tend to say it's not all about the unicorn, it's about the horses.
Sure.
But it just goes to show you that the horses take lessons learned from the unicorn and make it work in their world.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're talking about. If and when something moves, you leave Netflix, you're going to be able to take these lessons learned and move on there.
Exactly.
You weren't at last year's DevOps Enterprise Summit, were you?
I was.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I was actually, last year Dave Ashman spoke about the experiences of Blackboard, and I was previously at Blackboard, and we were supposed to give that talk together. So, but I joined Netflix, and so didn't want to give the talk as a Netflix employee.
Right.
It seemed like it would kind of ruin the story a little bit. But yeah, it was a great talk last year. So
excellent. So what would you say, beyond that there's a lot more people here, what would you say were some of the biggest differences between last year and this year?
Well, venue, I think I kind of enjoyed the previous venue because it was closer to San Jose, but I really enjoyed being downtown San Francisco. So it's a great venue.
Absolutely. What about the buzz from people?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't picked up on too much buzz or difference. I think there's a little more Docker, but
Well, there's always a little more Docker these days, it seems.
But yeah, it seems to be, what's interesting about this conference will be in a couple years is if we're hearing the same stories from the same people. And so last year we heard a lot of stories from a lot of companies, and this year we're hearing some of the next stage of that story.
Right.
It will be interesting to look back and say, these companies are taking this long to really get through the journey, or they keep encountering new problems that they throw.
Well, they probably will. I think what I'd like to see going forward is, yes, I'd like to hear the continuing saga of, this horse or that horse, or Nationwide, or some of the other companies that have not presented for 2 years. But I also want to hear from a wider breadth of companies. And you're going to need that mix. But I'm sure they're actually already talking about that for next year.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mark, we're about out of time, man.
Mike.
Sounds like Mike.
Yeah.
Why did I say Mark?
I
I
know.
apologize.
That's right.
Mike, we're about out of time, but sounds like you had a great
Yeah, it's
session.
good. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
You did, and people always want to hear about Netflix.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. We
All right.
hope to see you here next year.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you. All right.
This is Alan Schimmel for DevOps.com.